Hello. Hi. I'm Mike. We're going to get started with things we learned. First off, I'm just going to keep talking anyway. Thank you for coming to the things we've learned so far event on B2B content marketing. It's really cool to see everybody. Things we learned is a series. It's an event series that we started to do in 2016. I have no sense of time. We share things we learned about branding and design and marketing. And I haven't done this in a while, and so I was kind of nervous, right? And I came home the other day, and my 12-year-old is like, Dad, how's work? And I'm like, oh, it's good. But I'm like, I have to give this presentation, and I'm kind of super nervous about it. And he says, oh, can I give you some advice? And I was like, sure, 12-year-old. Give me advice on public speaking. And then he looks me in the eye, and he says, don't try to be funny. Be professional. And then he turned and walked away. And out of all the self-doubt I've ever had over the years, this is the thing that lingers most of all. Anyway, I'm Mike. We're going to talk about things we've learned. Today we're going to talk about B2B content marketing, which is a super sort of niche topic. Does anyone here do B2B content marketing? Work at a place that does? Just like Sam does? It's cool. I'm Mike Spakowski. I'm the person on the left. This is Blaise Hart-Schmidt. I am partner and creative director at Atomicdust. Blaise is senior marketing manager. We did a headshot photo shoot a couple months ago, I think. And this was an outtake, and I never thought I would use it ever, you know? And, well, what the hell, it's great. Okay, so at Atomicdust, we are a branding and design company in St. Louis. We're 2 doors down. We work with clients all over. We have a lot of B2B marketing and branding clients. You guys are working leisure. Who's been here before? Yeah. So Jordan, there he is. Jordan, hey, Jordan. Jordan's the owner of Working Leisure. Working Leisure does more stuff to support the St. Louis creative community than most people. And thank you for having us. We have had client workshops here, we've had meetings here, we've had happy hours here, we've had events here, and if you ever have to do one, this is a great place to do it. Talk to Jordan. Here's what we're going to talk about today. I am a terrible salesperson. How we got started with content marketing, some philosophy, the basics of content marketing, 10 things we've learned, and then I think we can all agree we should end this with deafening applause. No? Okay, first off, I'm a terrible salesperson. I started a company when I was, well, I guess we've been doing it for 20 years. And when you start a company, you're like, I really like to make stuff. And making stuff is fun, and I'm good at making stuff. But then you're like, well, how do you get clients? You know, which is like this big, haunting, obvious thing of how do you get clients? Because I'm not well connected, I don't cold call anyone, and I've never really sent a successful cold email in my life. Can anybody relate to this stuff? Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, Sam. And so, like, how do you get clients? And probably 8 years in, around 2007 or 8, a snapshot of our company was we had no sales team. We had a bunch of random projects. We had one client that was about 60% of our revenue, which is terrifying. If anybody has one giant client that's 60% of your revenue. And that was it. So I don't know where she is, but I met this wonderful person named Danielle Hallmeyer. And thank you for being here. So Danielle, she came into the company, we worked together for, I think, almost 9 years. She came into the company as an account role, and she, with her, brought her knowledge of social media to blog. And she was really big into publishing, she was really big into Twitter, she was really big into just building the St. Louis social media community. And I mean, to the point where like MTV wanted her to tweet with them, which is kind of cool. I mean, I don't know how much bigger it is. So she came in and she had this epiphany, great idea that we should start a blog and share on social, which at the time seemed great, but sort of like I didn't really think that as a business or like generating money or revenue. I thought that was like you know, like something that that would never yield anything, like it was an adolescent kind of thing. And it was her direction and guidance really set the stage for us. So here's how we got started with content marketing. We started a blog, and everyone wrote for the blog, and all the stuff I wrote, all the stuff I had wrote was very basic. It was like, we had pizza on Friday, and it's Carl's birthday, and the brochures came back from the printer, and everything was like 200 words and really light and terrible. There's never been anyone named Carl, but there was just an example. No one cared about any of this stuff, and it did not have any kind of thought leadership with it. It was just really a bunch of thought. And we were publishing and trying to share this stuff. And I went to a conference a long time ago for design firm owners. And is anybody familiar with Blaise? Win Without Pitching? Yeah. So check out Blaise. But Blaise is a new business consultant for agencies and professional service firms. He talks about winning based on your expertise and attracting clients based on your expertise rather than sort of just begging for work or being a generalist. I saw him speak, and he gave this really simple advice that always haunted me. And I love it because it's so simple. Experts write and speak. But I hate it because it's so simple. Because I don't really want to write and speak, and it's hard and difficult and takes time. But if I don't do it, it's clearly I'm not an expert. So to build expertise, I need to write and speak. So for our blog back then, I decided, well, I'm going to write some kind of thought leadership. And it was super daunting because it was, in my mind, it had to be very academic, or it had to be not very grammatically correct. I can't spell. But I would start to reframe it as, okay, well, rather than the pressure of that, I'm just going to write something that is helpful advice for businesses that their audience would actually care about. So I made out an article called Content is the New Black. And it was about how content is becoming more important than visual aesthetics for businesses. And what should have took a normal person like a day or 2 days to write, it took me about a month. I had 2 editors. I was terrified to publish it because I was afraid that what if my opinion's wrong? Or what do I know that my competitors don't know? Or, this is all general knowledge, and why would I ever write this up? And I had all this sort of self-doubt. And then it was finished, and it sat unpublished in our blog for about 2 weeks. I was scared to hit the button, right? So then I hit it. One day I was like, I'm gonna hit it. I hit the button, and we shared it on social, and I just waited for this tidal wave of hate to come and tell me how wrong I am, and how my opinion's bad, and how, let's argue everything I said and what a terrible writer. And none of that happened. It was fine. We got a couple likes, and I think we got a share, and there was a comment, and it was like, okay. So since then, with Daniel's sort of idea of this publishing engine for us, and then everybody contributing, here's our secret sauce. You guys seen Willy Wonka? It was old Slugworth. And old Slugworth that got a hold of this. Here's what we do. So we write 2 blog posts a week. We try to publish 2,000 words of fresh content on our website. We share these things on social. We do LinkedIn and Instagram, mostly some Facebook. We do a monthly newsletter that's just a roundup of the things we write. We do a quarterly presentation, which is things we've learned when we stopped doing it for COVID. We make an occasional video on YouTube. We do Instagram stories, and then we obsess over SEO, monitoring, and performance, just to see how everything's working. So I still don't cold call. I'm not well connected, and my emails still don't land, but somehow we generate 1 or 2 new business leads a day, which is really great for a company with no salespeople and for living off the stuff we've done in the past, right? So to be fair, some days we get done, some days we'll get 3. Some days they're all trash and not qualified, and it's projects that aren't a good fit for us. But it's very important to us. It's to the point where I'm always afraid if we stop doing these things that we won't get it, which is scary to me. So here's an epiphany. You guys can tweet this, but just what is this? So I'm a designer, and the only reason designers or creative people have jobs to get paid is we add value to businesses. We add value to products and services, We make things more memorable, we make things different than competitors, we make things look better. And so the idea of content and how important it was for our business just became this thing that we started to explain to other businesses. So we do a lot of branding of websites, which we really see as that foundation of like figuring out who a company is, what its value is to the audience, what's a good fit, the website and other sales materials and how people interact and convert, sort of the face of the brand in the world. And then we decided to start doing marketing. So foundation is branding websites and the marketing is kind of growth. You guys, this is Blaise Hart-Schmidt, which always was the giant intro for Blaise. But she is the senior marketing manager. She heads up all the content marketing for Atomicdust. We're going to sing a duet. And anyway, she's going to tell you about the things we learned.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We're in this transition. Please get more food. If you didn't know, there's streams of people ordering more stuff. So yeah, I'm Blaise Hart-Schmidt. I'm Senior Marketing Manager at Atomicdust. And in 2020 or 2021, I don't know, time was really weird back then, we formalized our digital marketing program. We had had a branding and website program for a long time. We created this program that we offer to clients. It has 3 main buckets of services, and I promise this is not a sales pitch, just kind of an overview. So we offer SEO, content marketing, and digital advertising. But really, in my mind, content marketing is the key that makes all 3 buckets work. Content marketing supports SEO because it gives search engines something to deliver. It makes your website attract traffic and leads. It also supports digital advertising because it gives companies something to offer clients or audiences or prospects online. I'm going to talk a lot about content marketing and I'm real nerd out, so let's all get on the same page about what content marketing is. You probably already know, but if you ask me, content marketing is just the process of creating and distributing any branded material that is valuable to audiences and then also supports a company's goals. There's debate about what counts as content versus advertising or branding. So if you ask my mom what I do, it's social media. I'm just on Facebook and Instagram all day, like, comment, subscribe. And she's not wrong. I do social media as a good chunk of my job. But really, content marketing is a ton of things. So, like Mike said, we post on our blog all the time. That's our main channel. We post on social media. We publish ebooks and white papers. We'll do videos. I could argue that this event is content marketing. Podcasts, templates, case studies. Like, there's not one avenue that you have to go down for content marketing. There's a plethora of choices, and there's things that are not on this list as well. Why does it matter for B2B specifically? Well, we really work with a lot of B2B audiences and companies, and we've really seen that content marketing works. And there's 3 main reasons. The first one is that we know that B2B companies typically have longer sales cycles. So a lot of the companies that we work with have like a 12-month, 18-month sales cycle, and content gives those companies a way to stay in front of their audiences and move them through the marketing funnel from the awareness down to the conversion stage. It also gives companies something, a way to reassure existing clients that you're working with the right partner, we're continuing to add value, we're continuing to teach you and educate you so that you can continue working with us. B2B companies also typically have multiple audiences. So we meet with a client or a prospective client. We might meet with the VP of marketing, the director of sales, and the CEO. And we know that each one of those people has a different priority, a different set of goals and priorities. And so we can create content that addresses each one of those people. And then after they've met with 5 agencies, they go to their conference room and they sit down and they need to all sign off on the same agency. We've already addressed each one of their unique goals. Finally, brand awareness. This is not exclusive to B2B. It helps B2C as well, of course. But content marketing just reminds people that you're alive, you're open, you're contributing to the conversation, you are providing value. So even if someone's not ready to engage with you or buy from you today, it will be down the line, and your brand is what comes to mind because you've already been in front of them. Okay, here's where I talk about things I've learned. Some of these are just going to be like personal lessons that I've learned. I've worked at Atomicdust for almost 4 years now. I think we have some fun things to share. The first one is that your audience is everything. A lot of companies will just start talking and talk about whatever they want to talk about. And this is not new. I'm not the first one to say like, hey, you have your audience in your marketing. But if you think about content marketing on a philosophical level, it's just a concept that by helping people, your brand will prosper. And if you want to help someone, you just have to know what they need. You have to know who they are. So we use buyer personas, customer personas. We have this deck that has a handful of people, their job titles, their goals, what kind of questions they have for us, what challenges they have. We have names for them. So as we're creating content, as we're getting ready to post things or deciding what to talk about, we'll say, well, would B2B Becky like this? Would she find this valuable? Is this too high level? Is it too in the weeds? We call her Becky with good hair. There's any Beyonce fans out there. So you need to remember that your audience is everything. How do you know what your audience cares about? There's a ton of ways to do this. A lot of them are paid tools. We're going to try to talk about paid and free tools because we know not everyone has great budgets. Open up Google. Start typing in your product or service. See what Google autofills, and that's what people are searching for. Search your industry. Search questions, and see what you find, and go from there. You can then go to your keyword research tools and narrow down from there. I'm getting ahead of myself, but here's how to get started. The next thing I've learned is that your company is a publication, and what I mean by that is to succeed. Oh, okay, that's fine. To succeed, you need to shift how you think of your company as a publication, someone that, or an organization that is continuously putting out content. And if you stop putting out content, your business will suffer because that's why people rely on you. There's a quote from Warren Buffett that says, "Someone sitting in the shade today because someone planted a seed a long time ago." Danielle planted that seed for us. People who have worked at Atomicdust planted that seed for us. And the thing is, as Mike said, we don't have salespeople. We're fully inbound. So all of the leads that come to us are because of content that we created a month ago, 6 months ago, 5 years ago. If you were to go back today and write a blog or record a video and post it, I'm gonna bet that you'll probably have a similar situation as what Mike had. You're not gonna get a lot of traction. And that's because content marketing is a long game. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. That's a metaphor because I don't like marathons or sprints. I'm working on my stand-up routine. You have to keep doing it. It's a consistent, ongoing game. So here's a really brief overview of what our process is to create content for ourselves. And my goal, I don't know if I said this again, my goal for the agency is primarily to market the agency ourselves. I also work with clients and advise on their marketing as well. So we start with audience research. We look at our buyer personas, we toss around topics and ideas and do keyword research. This is primarily done by our marketers, our strategists, and our writers, but really everyone has an idea, and we will listen to ideas from anyone on our team. Anyone who's customer facing, anyone who works on a project. If you have an idea, it might be a great idea for content. Next, we go into the creation phase. For our clients, we'll interview them, do research, ask questions, create it for them. So of course, then there's copy and design. Sometimes for ourselves, we'll record video. Primarily, this is done by the marketers and the writers on our teams, but we have developers that write blog posts. We have designers and account managers who write and do videos, and that's because that's how important content marketing is to our team. And we treat our business like a publication, that if we stop doing this, our business will suffer. And so I really encourage you all to do what you can to get people on your team on board and realize that this can be extremely beneficial for your company, but you gotta get people involved. So then we publish. I'll talk about both of these last steps later on, but we upload it into our CMS, format it, optimize for SEO, and then we share it, and everyone gets involved in here, and I'll talk about that a little later. The only problem with this process is that no one wants to write. I started my career as a journalist, actually, before I got into marketing. So I went to school for journalism, I worked as a professional journalist. I was writing professionally for probably almost a decade before I came to Atomicdust. And my first month or so, I had this idea for a blog post. And I didn't tell anyone I was writing it, I just wrote it. And very similar to Mike, I finished it and I was terrified. I was like, he's gonna read this, as soon as I send it, he's gonna read it and know that he made a mistake and hired me. I later learned that's called imposter syndrome. It's very real. And the thing is that everyone in this room is an expert in what you do. And that's true whether you realize it or not. And the thing about creating content is it's so easy to say, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I'm not a good writer, I can't create content. And that's what holds all of us back, either as marketers or as just industry professionals in whatever industries you work in. So you have to remember that imposter syndrome is real. I wrote the blog post, I sent it to Mike. He had 0 changes, we published it. It was just this concept, this idea that I had that the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. People don't, like, I'm being marketed to right now. They just think like it's a cool experience with a brand. I'm gonna toot my own horn. This is still one of the best performing blogs on Earth. It's the second highest performing blog. I wrote it in my first month 4 years ago. And I thought that what I had to say in this was like so obvious. I was like, people are gonna read this and be like, yeah, duh. And that's how I learned my second lesson, which is that no one knows what you know. As creators, as professionals, we think that we don't need to create content because we don't have anything new to add to the conversation. We don't know, or everyone knows what we know. We don't have anything new to add, and that's how I felt. We have an Atomicdust book club. We meet every 6 weeks. We read a marketing book or a branding book and talk about it. We're debating bringing wine. They're usually like at 9 a.m., so we have it yet. We read this book called Made to Stick. Has anyone read it? It's pretty good. We've had some bombs in the book club, and this one we liked. It's not too long. This book is 2 brothers. They talk about what makes ideas sticky. So what makes ideas repeatable and shareable and memorable. They talk about urban legends, why urban legends get passed on, what factors do they have in common, or why some ad campaigns can be repeated 20 years later and other ones are not memorable. And this book talks about this concept called the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge basically says that once we know something, we have a difficult time remembering what it was like to not know that thing. And that knowledge has really cursed us. And so as content creators, we have to remember that people don't know what we know. And we have to put ourselves in our audience's shoes and remember that we have this skill set and wealth of knowledge that other people don't know. And so even when things seem obvious to us and like everyone knows them, we still need to share what we know. The next thing I've learned is to tell a story. I'm not the first person either to say, tell a story in your marketing. I wish I was. I'd be on a beach somewhere. But tell a story in your marketing. I'm going to tell you a story right now about a commercial. It's my favorite commercial of all time. It's from 1998. I was 8 years old. This little girl comes down the stairs. It's Christmas morning. She's in her pajamas. She stops and like gets this big look in her eyes. And she goes upstairs and she grabs Mom and Dad, she wakes them up, she drags them down the stairs, and they get to the living room and they're like, whoa! They get this really surprised look on their face, and the camera pans the living room. It's like decorated for Christmas, and there's a pony, and a car, and a dollhouse, and a train, and like every gift that a little kid would ask for Christmas. And the dad goes, honey, what type of cookies did you leave Santa? And the little girl goes, I didn't leave him cookies. I left him cheese. And it's like the American Dairy Farmers Council or something. And I tell this commercial because it's a great commercial. Everyone loves cheese. It's a funny commercial. But this is an example of a brand using story the right way. The wrong way for brands to use story is to position the company as the hero. So they'll say, we're the best, and our teams are the best, and our products are amazing, and our services are number one, and we are gonna do it all great. And you're not the hero. There's this book, I'm citing lots of books today that I like to read. There's this book by Donald Miller, who is a very prolific marketing, branding writer. He wrote this book called Building a Story Brand, also a great book if you're looking for your to-be read pile. Building a Story Brand talks about these 7, I think, elements that all stories have in common. And that's, a 1,000-year-old parable and a Harry Potter book. The elements are the same. There's these 2 main elements that every story has. It's a hero, so just someone who has a goal and wants to achieve it. And then there's a guide, so someone or something that comes in and gives the hero the resources or the knowledge or just the confidence or the tools that the hero needs to achieve their goal. And what that commercial gets right is that the cheese is not the hero. The little girl is the hero, because we can all remember what it's like to be a little kid and have this long list of holiday presents or Christmas presents, whatever you celebrate, that they want, and they want to wake up on that holiday and see that whole living room full of presents. In that commercial, the cheese is the guide. So the cheese just helps that little girl get what she wants. And if you want to use story in your content marketing or just any of your marketing, you need to remember that your company is not the hero, your company is the guide. Donald Miller is awesome. He's got a ton of books. Check him out. The next thing I learned is that different gets remembered. This probably also seems obvious, but what I mean by this is illustrated with this quote. It says, the world doesn't need more of the same thing. If you and 5 competitors are all doing the same thing, you're fighting a losing battle. So, of course, doing something that's different doesn't have to be wild and crazy, because if you're in B2B, which most of you are, chances are you might work in like an industry that doesn't have a lot of room for wild and crazy and different. So really you just need to take a look at your competitors and see what they're doing in their marketing, and then think of ways that you can do it better. So can you make your content simpler, just super snackable, easy to digest, make sure I get the information I need and I'm on my way. Can you make it more complex, that when I do your content, I know something from top to bottom? Can you make it funnier or more visual, a specific visual style or illustration? Can you add motion or video? Sometimes it's just a medium. So if no one in your industry is doing podcasts, start a podcast. If all architecture case studies look the same, style yours differently, add story, do something that can help you stand out. I'm going to show 2 examples of different content marketing. The first is a logistics company that we work with. Is anyone here working in logistics, supply chains? Okay, cool. Let's talk later, because we started working with this company in 2020. Logistics and supply chains probably sounds pretty boring. I quickly became a logistics nerd. I love reading about supply chains. And the company that we work with, they're passionate about supply chains too. And if you look at the logistics industry as a whole, marketing is boring. And this leadership of this company is fun, and they're passionate, and they're smart, and they're humans. So great, let's just make their marketing be fun and passionate and like it was made by humans. So we started doing twice a month blogs for them. They had already been blogging for years. And they asked our agency to take that over. So we started doing twice a month blogs. After a while, we started doing weekly emails, just a newsletter. It's really short. This is the entire email. It's like 5 paragraphs, and it's just a recap. We find an article on supply chain guide or freight waves, some logistics or supply chain news that's helpful, and we recap it really quick. And then we just write it like we're people who are passionate about logistics, because that's different in logistics. And so on the left, here's a DL on LTL. LTL is like an industry, less than truckload. On the right, there's an economic concept called the bullwhip effect. So we were a little cheeky, a little quippy, and said that's bullwhip to start it off, just to get people's attention, get them reading, and stand out. You might be like, okay, be different. That sounds like a poster in a guidance counselor's office. Like, that does not equate to business growth. This is, we pulled this from a case study that we did for this logistics company. This is from March 2021 to October 2021. This is their organic traffic. The blue is clicks, the gray is impressions. This is 7 or 8 months. They were creating blogs before this. This was not like zero and then starting. They had been creating pieces for years. This was us using a few tools and being different. And this is what the organic traffic on their website looked like in 7 months. Here's an example that's not something that I did. MailChimp, you've all heard of, a B2B company. This is a screenshot from their website. They have a resources tab that has like 1 billion guides and articles about anything marketing or business related. They also have this inspiration tab that has podcast series, like video series, and films. And I was on their website the other day, and I saw that they made a video about a short film about Crown King in the Kitchen, just coincidentally here in St. Louis. So this is an example of a B2B company creating content about their customers. There's not a lot of B2B companies that would make a film. And so you don't have to be wild, you don't have to be kooky, you just have to be different. The only thing is, while being different, you have to prioritize your reputation. This is where things get really interesting. This is where a few people on our team might get a little embarrassed. I'm going to tell you a story. I was working from home like a year ago. I was sitting on my couch, and I get this text from Mike. It's a slow day in the office. He's at the office. Our account director, Jessica Allen, is also at the office. I think he has his kids with him. And Mike they've made this video, and Mike is going to post it on Instagram. He's running it behind me first. He just wants to show me. So I'm going to show you this video, and then I'll keep going.
Okay, so for years we've had this old fan we got in the back of the church, the closeout fan. But in 2 fans, we took one and used it for the office. Here it is. We call it the death fan because we're terrified of it. And it's high and then low, and the high will blow all the papers off everything. But anyway, long story short, Jessica was on a hot dog game. Okay, so the plan is Jessica's going to feed this hot dog on the sport into the death fan. Yeah. I mean, terrified. We did it!
Oh, it's all over the skin.
I love when a player comes together. I mean, not many people in the world have done that. Congratulations. Visionary.
Yeah. So I'm sitting on my couch, and I just looked at this video that my boss has sent me, and I'm really torn. Because on the one hand, we're creatives. We have this reputation for being laid back and easygoing, and we're open about being humans and being silly and flawed. And on the other hand, we work with really big companies that are not that. They're more buttoned up, they're more corporate. We want to continue working with these big companies and get bigger and bigger clients. And I'm afraid that if we publish this, it will get many laughs. It will get lots of engagement on social. This is social media gold. People will engage with this. But I'm afraid for our reputation that instead of building up our brand as people who are fun people but do serious work, that this could potentially detract. And so I thought about it. I think I probably might saw those 3 dots like pop up and disappear many times on his phone if he was watching. And I texted back and I was like, yeah, I don't think we should publish that. We debated showing this today. Because we were like, there are potential clients in the room. Like, do we want to show this to them? And we're showing it today because this is literally things we've learned. This is a lesson I've learned that we need to prioritize our reputation. And you all are going to be signing NDAs on the way out. So you need to be different. You need to take risks. But you also need to say, this is where we draw the line because, well, this might be entertaining or fun or different. We need to prioritize building up our brand and what will be good for our brand in the long run. Get to the point. So I'm running out the clock, so I will go through this point quickly. But when a lot of people create content, they want to seem smart. We all want to seem smart. And that means using a lot of words and big words and using every example and statistic and story and example that we can think of. And the thing is that people don't have long attention spans. So you need to get to the point with your content. So I have 3 quick tips for how to get to the point. 1, make it shorter. Get rid of anything that you do not need. You do not need a 30-second, like, intro to your YouTube video. Get rid of anything that's not valuable or incredibly entertaining or helpful to your clients. Make it shorter. Use the inverted pyramid. I talked about that. I'm a former journalist. The inverted pyramid is this concept that is taught in journalism school. It basically looks like an upside-down triangle, and at the top of your article or your news story, whatever you're putting together, you put the most helpful information, who, what, when, where, why, so that if someone only watches the first 30 seconds of your story, they only read the first 5 or 3 paragraphs of your article, that they can walk away and they have the gist of what happened. After that, you put other important information, and at the end, you add detail and color and just other things that are nice to know and interesting. So consider using this in some of your content so that someone can get what they need and get going. And then just keep them engaged. Ask questions, tell stories, use cliffhangers, and then pivot to something else and come back, surprise them. Just do whatever you can to keep people engaged with your content, because content that's boring, that people don't send to their teammates, that people don't print out and clip to their cubicle, that people don't bookmark and come back to it, it's worthless. If they're not going to remember it and talk about it later and share it, then it's not going to do your brand any good. SEO is in the details. SEO, of course, is search engine optimization. It's just the concept of when someone searches for your product or service, that your company is what they find. And when people use Google, they just ask it questions, whether or not they actually write out the whole question. They don't always do that. They just ask Google questions, and all Google does is just deliver the content that answers that question the best. So when I think about SEO, when I'm talking to my mom or someone who doesn't understand SEO, it's really just 2 things. It's making people happy by answering their questions and solving their problems, and it's making Google's robots happy by making that content easy to understand and organize and then deliver when the time is right. I did say you have to make robots happy. I thought about the fact that a lot of my job is just making robots happy. This will send you into a spiral if you think about it for too long, so don't. So SEO, making content that makes robots happy, is just all about the details. So we use tools to make sure that we get these details right. So I'm going to show you what tools we use. Ahrefs and Moz is usually what we use for keyword research. Sometimes there's like SEMrush. Both of these are paid, but there's also free features if you don't have budget to pay for them. There's also Google Keyword Planner, or just open up Google and show it. For content creation, we use this tool called Surfer, and this has been great for our content creation process, so I'm going to go in depth in this in a minute. For publishing, you have a CMS, so we use WordPress and Yoast that lets us nitpick all those little details and make sure we get it right. And then for performance, Google Search Console, Google Analytics, both of those are free, and then Ahrefs again. So Surfer, we started using this in the last year or two. Once you have your target keywords that you want to use, this is really our secret sauce. If you want some slugword stuff, this is it. You put your target keywords in, and Surfer creates basically like a rubric for you. So it says, you need to use these keywords, you need to use them this many times, you need to use these other keywords in your headers this many times, and then as you write your content, this is a screenshot of a blog that Sam wrote about a month ago. As you write your content, it scores it. So there's like this little odometer, and you watch your score go up, and sometimes it goes down, and then you like freak out, you try to get it to go up again, but it gives like a concrete value to the score that you have, and really takes a lot of the guesswork out of content creation. So once you solidify your content, we put it in WordPress, and here's where those details come in. So you make sure your keyword is in the slug. You make sure it's in the title tag or a variation thereof, in the meta description. You put it in the image title and the alt text. Here's all important details that helps Google understand exactly what your content's about, when is the best time for them to share it with people. It makes it really easy for them to serve it up on the first page. I also call out image size. A big image will make your website load faster. This is kind of a left field, but a slow-loading website won't be shown as high on Google. And there's a stat from Google, and I'm going to say this slowly so I get it right. If you improve the speed, the page load speed of your website by 0.1 seconds, Google says that will increase your conversion rate, so form fills, things like that, by 8%. So 0.1 second faster of page speed load, Google says, will increase your conversions by 8%. So make sure that images you're uploading are not 15 megabytes, which is a real size that we see. It's not enough to just make the content. So there's organic search, and that's huge, and that's a major reason why we do content marketing. But other than that, content marketing is not an if we make it, they will come situation. You have to put it in front of your audiences wherever they are. In other words, if a tree falls in the forest, did it even happen if nobody posts about it on Instagram? We post our content once we publish it on all our social channels. We put it in our email newsletter, like Mike said. We really encourage our employees to share it also. There's two stats that I found recently for a client presentation. The same piece of content, when it's shared by a team member, gets 7 times more engagement, and it's 8 times likelier to turn into a sale than if that same piece of content was shared by the company. And that's just because we all like to engage with people more than we like to engage with companies. So make sure when you're creating content that you're getting the members of your team to share it. Finally, this is the last thing I learned. I've learned no other lessons in life. Use clients to create content. And there's 2 different things that I mean by this. The first is that the work that you're doing for your clients right now is great material and inspiration for your content. So Austin Kleon is a great author. He talks about creativity and art, and he just says do good work and share it. And if you are a one-person team, if you need to start doing content marketing but you don't know where, this can be your entire strategy. Do good work and share it. So take the work that you're already doing for clients, make case studies and videos, start a podcast where each week or month you invite a client on and you talk to that client. The work that you're doing today can just be shared and lead to the work that you'll do 6 months from now. The other thing that I mean when I talk about using clients to create content goes back to that first lesson that I talked about, that your audience is everything. And just talk to your clients about what problems they have. So ask them what they don't have time for, what they haven't been able to figure out, what their challenges are, and then just create content that answers those questions and helps them do their jobs easier. You can also talk to lost sales, so people that you were talking to and they eventually went with another company, people that were in your sales funnel and jumped out. You say, hey, just curious, what happened? Why'd you go somewhere else? And they might say that they didn't understand something, they had hesitations or concerns about your company, and then create content that addresses those concerns or clarifies those answers, so that the next time you're talking to someone and they share that concern or they might be confused about something, you already have something that can answer and clarify those questions. Okay, I've learned a lot, I've talked a lot. Quick recap, your audience is everything. You need to treat your company like a publication, publishing it on an ongoing, consistent basis. Nobody wants to write, but you have to remember that nobody knows what you know. Tell a story, do something a little bit different from the rest of your competitors in your industry, but remember that you need to know where to draw the line and prioritize your reputation. Get to the point fast. SEO is all about just getting the details right. It's not enough to make the content, you have to share it, and then use clients as inspiration and material for your content. So we're going to open up the floor to questions. I hope you guys have some singers for us. Thank you so much for pointing out content has been really important for our business. We're fairly passionate about it. I think that you all can benefit from using it as well. In closing, what should we put in the hot dog fan next? So definitely an applause, you guys. Definitely. Thank you so much. I think Mike's going to come back up. Do we have any questions? If people need to leave, you will not be rude.
Are you guys on TikTok?
We're not on TikTok. We had the conversation. I think it's 50% is our audience there yet? I don't know that they're there yet, and I think 50% of it is bandwidth. So we know that the channels that we're investing in now work, and we don't necessarily have bandwidth to be producing consistently on TikTok. There's nothing worse than a company social media channel that you go to and they haven't posted in 8 months. So we don't want to just start TikTok and then not have the fodder or the material to be posting consistently. So if we had unlimited time and budget, I'd love to be doing things. I think.
If I could dance, but
I think that fan in the hot tub bit was a kill on TikTok.
Yeah. It's always something that we're talking about, but not yet is the answer. Yeah.
What do you say to a client that's hesitant to make information-rich content because they believe they should pay for their opinions before getting out there?
I would say that your competitors are probably giving it away. And I think there's this concept called reciprocity. And when you give someone something, they feel psychologically as humans to reciprocate. And so when you provide information and valuable material to someone, they feel better about who you are and that you're going to be helpful when they start engaging with you as well. So I understand as professionals, we don't want to be dragged along. We want to be paid for what we're worth, but especially in competitive industries, you need to give a little bit first to show that you are going to be a strong partner. Yeah.
How does your team approach the blog topic research for clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of times it's just like, what have we been thinking about? Like, what have we been talking about to clients? What topics are popular in marketing right now? Other times we go through a list of our clients, or maybe like 10 clients a quarter, and say, what what did they come to us for? What do they need help with? And then we kind of figure out a topic that maybe we haven't written about before, or that there's opportunity in keywords. It's not a totally oversaturated keyword. And then create content that answers those questions that they came to us for.
A lot of your topics come from new business meetings where people ask you, how do you do this? And it's so obvious, right? It just do the thing. But to them, it's breakthrough. So I'm just running a list of questions people ask that sometimes will pick up.
Yeah, Mike has a piece of advice where you just write a list of 10 things that you know about. And chances are that other people don't know about them. So if you don't have clients yet, if you're new, you don't have people already asking you questions, like just what do you know about that you're an authority on, and start there if you don't have clients yet to answer questions. Any other questions? Sam?
Can you talk about the value of refreshing mobile content versus
Yeah.
content?
Thank you, Sam.
What a great question.
What a great question. It's almost like we work together. When we create content for clients, we'll also deliver what we call micro copy, and it's basically just like a bit of copy, a few sentences that they can then use to share that content. And so for that logistics client, for example, I'll create micro content and then I'll schedule social posts. So I'll schedule that social post to go on LinkedIn tomorrow, and then I'll schedule one for 3 months from now and 9 months from now. And some people are like, well, that's cheating. Like, we already published it, we already shared it, we can't do it again. It's like, no. If you have content that's still valuable a year from now, as long as you're not writing like, this is what's going on in stocks today, like, it is still valuable a year from now. So you need to reuse it and squeeze every juice of value that you can get out of the content, because you probably spent time and energy creating it, so make sure you're getting it. You can also kind of reshape content. So we recorded this video today, hopefully Aaron pressed record. He gave a thumbs up, thank God. So we'll upload it to YouTube. And then what we can also do is like make 60-second clips of a single lesson and post that on LinkedIn. And then I can take my notes and transcribe everything I've said and do a huge ebook or a really long blog post. I can take single slides and make Instagram graphics. So I can take one piece of content and then make 50 pieces of smaller content and schedule it out for the next year, and I am done. So it takes work. I'm not going to say like, oh, you can just snap your fingers when that content's made, but it's like almost made. You just have to reshape it and then repost it. Thank you so much.